In this video, I'd like to show you a program called Cantabile. If you had a chance to watch any of the videos I made of VST Host, then you're already familiar with the idea behind this program. It works much the same way in that it allows you to work with virtual instruments or VST effects without the need of a full-blown digital audio workstation. The program here is the Lite version. You can download it from cantabilesoftware.com. If you go to the website, you'll see that they do offer different versions with different features. So check out the website and find out more about the program there. For our purposes, though, Cantabile Lite will work just fine. Before we can start working with it, though, we do need to set up a few things. To get to the setup page, we can do it a couple different ways. The setup tab here gives us the option to go directly to whatever page we're trying to work with. Or we can go to the main option page by selecting Cantabile options here. The first thing we'll do is set up the audio engine. You can select the appropriate audio driver from the drop-down box here. If you're not exactly sure which one to select, definitely select whichever one has ASIO in the text. That'll give you the best performance for your computer and audio card configuration. The Assign Audio Channels button here will allow you to make sure the inputs and the outputs of your sound card are set up appropriately. For my particular setup here, I'm using the SPDIF inputs of my audio sound card to get the sound from my keyboard. So I just make sure that the left and right SPDIF inputs are selected. They're going to go to the front left and front right channel. Cantabile does allow you to route your audio signal to a lot of different places, so it's a very powerful feature. You just want to make sure that whatever you have selected here as far as your inputs match up to the outputs. So if I have the sound coming into the front left and front right here, then the output, I'll select front left and front right here in order to send it to the outputs of my sound card. That way I can actually hear the sound of my keyboard. And then, of course, come down to the MIDI devices and check the appropriate MIDI driver for your given hardware configuration. Under the plugin options, of course, you want to select the appropriate folder for wherever the VSTs on your computer actually are. Once we've got it set up, we can come back to the main screen here. You'll see that there's a rack already loaded up for us. The way to think about these racks is that they're just containers for your plugins. We can have multiple racks here with multiple plugins within each of those racks. What we're going to do here for this video, I was just going to use one rack, so I'll go ahead and get rid of the other ones for now. But I'm going to work with the sound coming in from my keyboard and install a single instance of a plugin. So before I do that, I just want to make sure I can get the sound from the keyboard. If I play the keyboard, I can see that the MIDI light is flashing and my little keyboard is moving down there. But I'm not hearing anything just yet, so I do need to select a couple of other things. Of course, obviously, I want to select the input here. This just allows me to get the sound from the audio card into the program itself. But if I play again, I'll see that the level meter is moving. So the program itself is getting the sound, but I'm not hearing it just yet. So I do need to get it into the rack so I can start actually working with it and using plugins on it. So down here in this line, there's a couple small icons here. Fortunately, Cantabile is real good about pop-up help. So if you put your cursor over one of the icons, you can see what it does. And in this case, this one says Input Connect. So I need to select that. And basically now what I've done is I've just connected the sound that's coming into the program to this particular rack. So when I play my keyboard, now I can actually hear the sound, and now I can start working with plugins. So I'll select a plugin with this drop-down box. I'll see a list of my plugins show up. Cantabile does a good job of sorting them by effect and instrument and other. So if you've got a lot of plugins, it just makes it a little bit easier to keep them organized. I'll select this free reverb here, and I'll play the keyboard one more time, make sure it's actually coming through the reverb. So now I know that I've got the input from my keyboard coming into Cantabile, and I'm running it through the reverb. It's as simple as that. A couple other features of the program here that I'll touch real quick. The transport buttons here in this version just really run the metronome. If you have the solo or the performer version where you can actually record WAV files or MIDI files, then of course the transport button will work with those files as well. But for the Lite version here, if we click play, we're just starting the metronome. We can see the metronome's working over here. We're not hearing anything yet because we do have to select the volume checkbox here. It's kind of like the on-off switch. It's labeled volume, but it basically just turns the metronome on and off. It doesn't necessarily turn the metronome on and off. It just makes the sound available to us. So that's kind of why they label it volume. But then stop and pause and play the metronome here. Across the top of the rack here, we've got other buttons that are pretty obvious. They don't need a lot of explanation. If you want to bypass the entire rack, you can select that button. Of course, you can mute the whole rack or solo the rack. And then the same thing you can do with each of the plugins that you have installed. You can bypass the plugin or suspend the plugin. Two different ways to kind of turn off the plugin, so to speak. The manual goes into the specific differences between suspend and bypass. So I'll let you look it up in the manual as to what the differences are and when you want to use one over the other. But within each of the plugins, of course, you can select a program that's appropriate for that plugin directly through this list, or you can scroll through it with the little buttons here. If you want to get back to the main plugin page, then of course you just select Edit and you'll get a little pop-up of your plugin interface again here. And then, of course, there's some other features here that we'll talk about a little bit more in the next video. But for now, that should get you started. Hopefully, getting you set up with the program. And if you've got a keyboard, you can experiment with getting sounds into the program. In the next video, I'll show you how to work with a virtual instrument. And we'll install a couple different racks and some multiple plugins in each of those racks. So hopefully that'll show you how to get started with Cantabile Lite.